Hello, I am Jason Hahn, and welcome to an episode of Mega Manga Mondays. Just the three, not the four or five. But again, I am Jason Hahn, and we are extremely excited to talk about One Piece 1044. Very huge chapter. We'll get right into it, but I have some fellow One Piece fans who are also Screen Rant writers. I write video game news, and my friends here are part of the comics section, so they are very knowledgeable when it comes to mangas. And let's get right into it. Ben, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Ben. As Jason said, I'm a comics writer. I write about comics and manga. And One Piece is my favorite manga. So I am very, very excited to discuss this chapter as it is one of the biggest chapters probably in the past couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah, we had previously discussed 1043, and unfortunately the recording got messed up.
Mm.
And I was just like, oh man, that was such a big chapter. It's going to be really disappointing that we can't talk about it on the beginning of Mega Manga Mondays. Then this chapter blew that out of the water. So, Francesco, would you like to introduce yourself, bud?
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Francesco. I'm also a comics writer. I'm a senior comics writer for Screen Rant. I write about mostly Marvel and manga, and sometimes DC and other comic books. And I'm also a huge One Piece fan. I think, yeah, that's definitely my favorite one at the moment. So, yeah, very excited to talk about this chapter.
Definitely, man. Well, this one's 1044, titled "The Warrior of Liberation," and oh boy, we left off the last chapter with Luffy getting knocked out, and he had a big old smile and a weird big elephant saying he's some legendary figure. I don't know. I do know it's Zanesha, and he's been wandering around for 800 years, and that's a whole nother podcast worth of lore to talk about. But this chapter just started with a bang. I mean, we get Luffy's awakening. We got the world government in this. We got Hiyori and the most unlikable characters resolution. With just so much happened in this chapter, and I almost feel like a lot of it was overshadowed by Luffy's finally awakened transformation. I didn't think we were going to be getting Gear 5 and his awakening being the same thing, but it absolutely makes sense because it's Luffy's brain. So of course he's going to be like, oh boy, I feel more powerful, so I'm just going to call this Gear 5. And I'm like, I was reading the chapters, and I've listened to some other people's reaction to just seeing that panel of Gear 5, and they just lose their minds. And we didn't have to. I'm so glad we didn't have that as like the final panel of this chapter, and then we're gonna have to wait a whole another week to see what Gear 5 was gonna be, because he did that back on Dressrosa with Gear 4. And I just, this chapter was just, we got so much more than I was anticipating. You guys go, because oh boy.
Well, it was funny because I actually wrote an article about like potentially what Luffy's power-ups could be and stuff. And there's a lot of story left. So it could have made some sense for Oda to be like, oh, we'll save, like awakened powers maybe for later. Maybe Gear 5 is something else, or something like that. Oda could have stretched this out for like a bit longer, having Luffy continuously level up in each arc. But instead he's like, no, we're just going, Luffy's awakening. This is Gear 5. He actually has the mythical human fruit model Nika. Just like I mean, I don't see where Luffy goes in terms of fighting prowess from here.
Right. I definitely think this is. I don't think Luffy's got any other like transformations. I think it's going to be very similar to Gear 4, where he just finds all kinds of weird, interesting ways to manipulate this new thing, especially with how vague they are kind of with how it works, with just saying, it's limited to his imagination, essentially. But in this chapter, we got some great examples of Luffy is able to affect the world around him and make it rubbery. They even add the sound effect of boing when Kaido shoots another breath laser at him, and he pulls up part of the skull dome, and it just bounces right back at Kaido, which Yeah, Kaido. I'm not sure if Kaido's been hit with his own blast. Oh no, Raizo did a very similar thing with his Naruto powers, but yeah, watching Luffy. I don't know, the Looney Tunes thing's kind of bugging a lot of people, but I really didn't mind it because there's so many times in One Piece that it gets to that level of silliness, and I almost feel like it was the contrast to how dramatic and crazy Kaido consistently is, and it was just like the thing that's going to take him down is going to be the guy who's just creating smiles and not taking it as seriously from what this transformation is kind of giving us so far. Clearly Luffy takes this battle seriously, but yeah, I this hasn't made him a different person, but he definitely seems to be just in a consistent laughing fit of enjoying himself. So I'll be interested to see how it has further transformed Luffy's thought
Not
process.
Dressrosa anymore.
Yeah.
No longer Lucy.
Yeah. But yeah, Francesco, I saw you weren't a big fan of the Looney Tunes, eh?
No, I think no. I think that could be part of the powers. Actually,
Yeah.
I don't think that just Oda drawing silly stuff, because at some point there is a specific sentence that now I don't recall that made me think, okay, so maybe his powers are actually doing this, actually turning people into cartoons. So there is something on that line, but obviously we can't discuss that because we have basically zero evidence. What I was gonna say is that I wasn't super happy about this chapter.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's hear it.
It's I'll tell you a funny story. I was constantly on the lookout for the fans release of the chapter because I had to write the article as soon as possible. So I was constantly looking for it, and I think I saw it. Finally, I found it was my Thursday night, I think, and I found just one website who had it. I read it and I went, okay, this is not real. This is some fans who made seriously put together some panels from other points of the story, redrew some, because that sounds basically a fan fiction becoming reality.
Oh boy.
Because if you think about it, a lot of people were right about their theories, because there were theories that when the true ability of a certain devil fruit, which turned out to be Luffy's, were teased, some people were, okay, so we think it's Luffy, and we think it's actually a mythical Zoan because they went back to the aspect that the Air Fort has and a lot of things. So many of these were true. And as you were saying, Jason, in one chapter we had, so the mystery of the devil fruit revealed.
Yeah, the Zoans have a mind of their own.
There were many theories about that. Could have been Zunesha, could have been the girl, the Kibidango girl, I don't remember the name. It could have been, I think, Toki's fruit, the time traveling one. Could have been so many things. Nope, it's Luffy. And then you get Nika and Joy Boy basically being the same person, and that's also Luffy. So that's two mysteries that we got at the same time. So we are up to 3. And then what else did we get in one chapter? I mean, my impression is that, so first of all, I think Oda is rushing a bit.
Oh yeah.
Because he knows he has to finish. So maybe he's kind of, it's not something horrible like, I don't know if you guys ever read the Toriko.
No.
That's a cooking one, right?
Yeah, it's a cooking one. It was a really nice manga, but then at some point they just, okay, I have to finish this one.
Yeah.
So everything happens in 2 volumes, which is horrible. So it's not the same, but I think he's kind of trying to cram all the things together. But I was still expecting that when these revelations came, we would go, we would be like, okay, so we didn't understand anything. It was something completely different. But instead, it kind of fits with the theories, which means, I think, that he has been teasing these things for maybe a bit too much, and maybe just too many mysteries, right? So he gave fans so much time to think about it that in the end, we expected what was going to happen. And then we got the revelation, and we were like, right? So I was not, oh my God, what's going on? I was like, oh, okay, yeah. So that's it, right? Which
I
I
think
think I was a little disappointed.
I can see that. Oh, go ahead, Ben.
Oh, I sort of have like the opposite point of view completely, which I think this shows how good the dynamics on the podcast are because we got good discussions going. But
and how good the manga is.
Yeah, no, that too. Like two people can view it in completely different ways, but I actually think our perspectives kind of skewed because of how passionate One Piece fans are. Where like if you look at all the theories out there that have been proposed about this sort of thing, it was almost guaranteed that at least one would be true, right? Because people were saying things, you know, from, oh, it's like Luffy's Joy Boy's resurrected form, you know, carrying his spirit somehow, to like, oh, it's actually, you know, it's the resin fruit, not the rubber fruit. And like there were theories on all different parts of the spectrum. So like one was guaranteed to be true, no matter what, I think. And also the fact that like this has been teased for so long is like very satisfying to see for me, I think, like, because I view it as sort of like a payoff for paying attention. I'm not sort of like, oh, well, we figured that out a while back. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like this, and this add up to this. Like, oh, I like that.
Yeah. Real quick for me, it was almost like an opposite of to kind of go finish what you're going on what you're saying, Francesco, about it's like the opposite of Game of Thrones, where so many things are leading up to where you hope it's going to go, and then the writers are just like, we want to subvert expectations and just do something completely out of left field, and people hated that.
That doesn't even exist for me. Like I've read the books, and the show doesn't even exist for me. So I got what you're talking about.
It's really good. I highly recommend it for the first 5-6 seasons. But it's one of those things where the writers of that show, once they ran out of source material, they just came up with their own stuff, and the further things got along, the clearer it was that they didn't know what they were doing. But the opposite for One Piece, in my opinion, where we've had all these things lining up, and it might have not been a huge surprise for you because it all made sense. Like, we've all been One Piece fans for so long that, you know, we've kind of grown up with it, and we kind of know what to look out for, and also kind of look to see like what would make sense and what would be the most rewarding. But absolutely, Oda is fast tracking everything. We've said in some previous discussions that Oda is almost doing the streamlined version of One Piece right now because he has so much more he wants to get to. And instead of it taking, 40 years to tell the whole story, I think he's trying to wrap it up in 30. But it's still, we're still getting the streamlined thing. And I'm really hoping that the anime is able to spend more time on a lot of these events so they can really flesh them out. Because I thought the Odin's daughter and man, what's the name of the Hydra guy? Orochi. Yeah. I thought that was a huge moment that was completely overshadowed by everything else going on in this chapter. And I mean, that is a huge.
Yeah. I was almost like, what the hell? Why do we care about this right now? Just get over with it.
Yeah, it's something where it's like I had to reread the chapter.
Go back to the important stuff.
It was funny because like I've reread this chapter like 4 or 5 times probably, like because it's just it's that crazy.
Yeah.
But like that moment was like on the rereads, I thought it got a lot better because I'd paid attention so much to the Luffy fruit reveal, like that I hadn't paid attention to that, and then like looking at it again, it felt sort of fresh to me to see that reveal. But yeah, it's just like first time you read through that chapter, you just completely forget that happens, and it's such a big moment too. So like,
but I have to say that actually the main reason why I'm disappointed, and this goes back to the episode that never aired when we talk about the previous chapter. I was disappointed because when I read the previous chapter, I was, oh wow, Luffy lost. This big, this is huge, this is completely against everything we are used to in shonen manga. So I really hope that in the next chapter is just not just going to be, oh, Luffy is back and he's more powerful and now it's going to be Kaido, because that's what's happening.
Yeah,
right?
unstoppable.
I was really hoping that defeat would remain as a huge turning. It could be just, Game of Thrones thing when you do the opposite than what people expect. But as I said in our discussion that didn't end, I think that would make a lot of sense in terms of the wider Wano storyline.
Yeah.
Where Kaido was not defeated by Luffy, but by the people of Wano. So that would have been a nice storytelling touch. Instead, we got the classic, he's back and he's power up and whatever, which, don't get me wrong, it's amazing. Like it's what we've been waiting for years. Mm-hmm. But I think that looking at the big pictures, it's just another, shonen manga stereotype that we got.
Yeah.
I can totally agree with you on that front, but at the same time, if we look back to all of the places that Luffy has been previously, he is almost referred to as like the savior, the messiah, the person that came and made everything okay. And I feel like if he didn't get the win in Wano and it did go to the people of Wano, which I completely agree, that would be a very poetic and great ending because those people deserve it after everything that they've been in. But by the end of the story, we need Luffy to almost be the messiah that all these different countries look at and smile. Because that's a little bit of a hint, I think, that they've given us, is that Luffy's powers are like fueled by making people's lives better, essentially. So I'm almost thinking a final conflict, it's going to be sort of a spirit bomb sort of thing, where the more people in the world who are like smiling at Luffy, the more powerful he gets. So I see that being something that they eventually start tying into.
There's also theories going on the final treasure now. The whole thing that Roger and everybody else started laughing when they saw it. It could be connected with this whole smile thing from Nika.
Yeah,
because Joy Boy is the one who left the treasure. But we still have so many things to understand, right? Because what's the connection between Nika, Joy Boy, and Luffy? We don't know that yet.
Well,
why has Luffy's behavior changed now? It's almost like he's another person. Why do the Gorosei say that the mythical Zoan have their own will?
Yes.
This is interesting because it means that Kaido is not a dragon. He is the dragon. He's a specific dragon, right? So if that's the same for Nika, then maybe that's why his will is inside the fruit, right? Because it's the same for Kaido and for everyone else. And maybe that could explain a little more about the Devil's Fruits too.
I was just about to say, absolutely. It's simultaneously answered a Devil Fruit mystery while at the same time giving us more questions about Devil Fruits too. Because real quick, it starts to make you rethink about all of the Zoan characters that we know so far. There's several of them that have let their animal nature kind of take over a little bit more, and then there's some that have been able to like keep it at bay and use the power a little bit more. But the idea that they can help shape that person a little bit more, like even with Orochi, like he's the Hydra Zoan, and it just made him even worse, possibly. I mean, he was already a pretty terrible guy, taking debts from people and not paying them back and being a backstabbing jerk. But it's just, I think that's going to explain why Luffy is almost a little bit of a different person, because this fruit has truly awakened. So he's really getting the full force of what that fruit is available or capable of. But I have another thing that I thought of before I went to sleep last night. But Ben, did you have something you wanted to say?
Oh yeah, it's just I don't think we're gonna get answers like specifically about what this fruit does until we get a Joy Boy flashback, because the way I see it is Joy Boy is like So I think Nika, Joy Boy, and Luffy are actually like three different sorts of characters. Where like Nika is like the original, like, you know, god, sun god sort of liberator going around and doing this. And then Joy Boy was the owner of the Nika fruit during the Void Century. Like, and so when we eventually get, I mean, we've got to get a flashback as to what happened in the Void Century, like before the end of the series. Like it's gonna happen, right?
That's what I love about One Piece. We look forward to flashbacks.
Oh yeah. And that one's one of the biggest, I think the most anticipated ones. And it would make sense to sort of frame the reveal about that through Joy Boy's eyes, because that's basically through Luffy's eyes, right? And there could be so many parallels there, while also revealing sort of what the end goal of this fruit is, how it actually like works, you know, all that stuff. So I think we're not going to get answers like for a long time.
Oh, right.
Unless like we get some sort of tangential answers through like Son Goku, who is the only other character we've seen who has like another mythical human fruit, because he has the Buddha fruit.
And Chopper, and I mean, I know that there's a few human fruits that are around, but
yeah, there's
Chopper's fruit is not specified, right? Just human.
Yeah, it's just a regular one, which is strange, you'd think.
Well, I was saying with Ben before the show started, a lot of things that we will never know if Oda planned them in the beginning, or if he just made it up. For example, a Chopper's fruit. It's probably not even connected to these other things, but it just talk about it later. Yeah. The Gum fruit, which appears in the very first chapter, as Ben said, was he thinking that far ahead when Shanks shows up with that thing? Did Oda knew 25 years ago what devil fruits are? Why the government is after that specific one? Why Shanks has that? So who knows?
I
think more likely so. Not.
I think with some things, like with the devil fruit and Shanks, I think that all just seems to story structure wise, everything seems to lean on that so heavily that it just all makes so much sense that I feel like that's something that may have been there. And this is actually funny. I'm glad that you brought Shanks up, because this is something I thought of last night. Is this the whole reason he's an emperor and has such a huge bounty? Because he stole that fruit from the government, and the government has said that was their most valuable fruit. So
I don't think so. He's also very powerful. I mean, we've seen him being recognized many times, for example, by Kaido as one of the few who can fight with him. So an emperor, the title of emperor is mostly in recognition of the military strength of pirate. So he needs to have that. And there is also that theory I mentioned, I think last time, that he could be a celestial dragon.
Yeah, Shanks.
The descendant of celestial dragons, because that's the only way he could get into the room with the five elders, with no one saying anything, with no one stopping him and talking to him. So with this, maybe we'll get some clues in the movie that's coming out. Maybe there are a Shanks movie that's coming out.
Hopefully. And the celestial dragon theory like makes even more sense in the context of him having stolen that fruit, because that fruit is like a secret held by the world government. And
that's supposing that he stole it because he knew.
Well, I'm not saying he stole it like because but like I think it's one more piece. He knew it was valuable.
He knew it was valuable, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like one more piece, because even knowing of the existence of that fruit means that you've got to have some connections to the high up tiers of the world government. So
there's also that, I mean, just in the very beginning of the manga, when Oda explained how devil fruit work, what little we know, that if you eat one, you basically become an enemy of the god of the sea, which is why you cannot swim. So now we all believe that this was just sort of a way of giving a drawback to these powers, right? Because you have this war that's based on sea travel, right? And you are unable to swim anymore. So you get these amazing powers, but as soon as you you get into the water, you're dead. Which I mean, it made sense. It wasn't used that much, honestly, and maybe he just dropped it at some point. Or there could be something behind this, a god of the sea, actually, right? There could be a reason why if you eat a devil fruit, you can't swim anymore, because it's so weird, like makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, I'd almost love somebody who's a little bit more inclined in the science of the world. Like, I'm surprised Robin hasn't like, okay, so I've got this normal water here because they've established that like they can still experience water. Like they've gone into saunas and stuff like that. It's just seawater seems to be the thing. And I'm wondering, like, she's slowly putting salt and minerals in water and trying to see. At one point, it tips the scale where she's like, "Oh, okay, I'm reacting to this," but I don't think we'll ever get a whole scientific breakdown of devil fruits.
I mean, we haven't met Vegapunk yet.
That's the big thing,
and that's where we could get. And also, now that you bring that up, like a bunch of different pieces sort of connected in my mind all at once, and I thought of something very interesting. Well, yeah, into one piece. But so we know that the smile fruits are like zone fruits, right? They manifest as like a bunch of different weird sort of zone fruits, right?
Yeah.
And if you eat a smile fruit and it's a failure, you're stuck basically laughing for the rest of your life.
Right.
And we know that Luffy's fruit is a zone fruit now. And when he's awakened it, he's just overfilled with joy and he laughs constantly, basically.
Yeah.
So,
and that's gonna be the thing that takes Kaido down, who was trying to replicate smile fruits, and it's gonna make him sad.
Yeah, well, I'm wondering if the smile fruits were based off of trying to like copy in some way Luffy's fruit.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're trying to copy like a zone fruit, and the failure of getting a perfect copy is like you're just stuck laughing in this broken sort of way.
Yeah.
It also makes sense that when the government cloned Kaido DNA, they got another dragon fruit, right?
Mm.
So it's all connected through the DNA, basically.
Yeah,
because it makes sense because, well, it makes sense. Maybe it's too much. But they were not actually cloning Kaido. They were cloning whoever that dragon is inside of him.
Yeah.
And I think that oh man, I had it and I lost it. I'm really interested to see Kaido's reaction, because we only got a small glimpse of it, of you can't be Joy Boy and this and that, but I think it just reveals that Kaido knows a lot more about possibly even Luffy's fruit and the whole Joy Boy moniker and all that, because it's almost too coincidental that they named the fake fruits the smile fruit and all of that stuff. So it's definitely making me more curious on. I think Kaido knows a lot more than I think he knows about as much as the five elders and all those people know. Maybe not so much that you have to eat that specific fruit to smile all the time, because we've never heard like Kaido wanting to eat a secondary fruit or anything like that. But I need a flashback.
We also don't actually know. we don't actually know what the power of this fruit are. So he's a god, but what's the connection with the way he manifests his power? Because I think there are two levels here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one is the elders are afraid of this fruit for two reasons. I think this is my theory.
Yeah.
One is that sort of moral problem that this Nika or Joy Boy or whoever he is a liberator. We know he freed slaves in antiquity. We know he brings joy to people that they want to enslave, basically. So it's their political enemy, okay? Not moral, just like a political point of view, right? But from their words, I think they're also afraid of the actual powers, right? Which we don't know, because they say, oh, it's limited to their imagination. So what's that? They can manipulate their body in any way? Is that it? Is that what's the music all about?
What
are the drums all about? Why is he what are this god? I mean, someone theorized that there is something connected with fire, because we talk about the symbolism of the sun in One Piece, and Gear 4 had this smoke coming out from apparently nowhere, right? So there is more. Like we don't actually know if it has anything to do with just gum or rubber anymore.
Yeah,
It could be anything else.
Yeah, I think, and something a YouTuber I watched pointed out too is that Oda actually revealed Gear 5 a few dozen chapters ago in a cover spread.
The cover.
Yeah, it was. It was
it's
around.
Similar.
It's very similar.
But I have a nice thing for you guys.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen this already. So pick up the cover page for this chapter.
Okay.
Oh, with
we're back to
Germa tied up on
Whole Cake Island.
Yeah.
So the cover of this chapter has we're back to Whole Cake Island, and Sanji's siblings are tied down to the book and about to get cut open. They're waiting for the cue from Mr.
Sorry, not this chapter, the previous chapter. Sorry, my mistake.
Oh, okay.
Oh, where they're heading back to,
Yeah, 143. And remember we said it was an odd cover because it had something didn't feel right. Remember? I think we talked about this. Right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Keep going because I vaguely remember, but I'm pulling it up now.
No, I want you guys to look at it.
Oh, okay. So if you're following along on the podcast, pull up the main cover of chapter 1043. Let's face death together. We've got the.
I didn't find out about this. I just read it online.
Okay.
So if you look, the two children of Big Mom, they're heading towards Whole Cake Island, right?
Okay. Yeah.
You guys see in the horizon, you can see these tiny black figures. Sort of like there is a group of people waiting for them.
Yeah. Oh, and they're the figures on the
on
1044. Oh.
No, we don't know who they are.
Oh.
There's no explanation, but they could. Remember, we talked about what Blackbeard would be doing. He could be going on Whole Cake Island.
Right. Yeah, we keep waiting for that to happen, where it's just, things are suddenly hectic here.
And some people with some huge, with a big stretch of imagination and some. And some good software to enlarge the picture. They pointed out a few of these figures actually remember some members of Blackbeard crew. Someone they pointed out the one that looks like Burgess. Another one that looks like the Doctor. So they could be just there waiting.
Yeah, I could see that, and that would be very, It's sort of like Luffy conquers Kaido's domain while Blackbeard conquers Big Mom's.
Yeah.
And there's
also in the way that Blackbeard is sort of taken everything, which is sort of that we've seen so far, which is he waits until the threat's been defeated and then he swoops in and claims the spoils.
The ultimate opportunist. I don't know if you guys are wrestling fans. Some years ago, there was a wrestler.
A little bit. It's been a while.
Edge.
Back when Stone Cold Steve Austin said so.
That's like 10 or 15 years ago. There was a guy who went as the ultimate opportunist. That's what Blackbeard is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's several of Big Mom's children that I think would happily side with Blackbeard too, especially if they got the news that Mom was down thanks to Luffy. But that kind of leaves Pudding and Katakuri in a situation where they would need to leave or flee, because I don't see them, going against the Straw Hats. It almost gives a good opportunity for, say, after this all ends, how they find out about Whole Cake. Either the newspapers, obviously, or Pudding and Katakuri could eventually show up and be like, so this all just happened. But we saw Pudding in a couple of chapters ago punching the out of one of Sanji's siblings. But yeah, I absolutely think that is something that's going to end up happening, because it just makes too much sense, is Blackbeard taking over Whole Cake Island. And I keep waiting just for the one cover to show up where all the siblings are like, wait, something weird is happening on the island? And
it's going to be the last. gonna be the last one of this cycle, right?
Absolutely. Well, we've kind of gone around it, but I think it's time to talk about what do you guys think of Gear 5? I happen to be a big fan of the transformation. I mean, it wasn't, a lot of people were thinking, oh, it's going to be like a tiger transformation or something. There's just theories everywhere, but I don't think anybody called it was just going to be Luffy with like Super Saiyan hair and his new white vest or just light colored vest. But I'm all for it. I'm a huge.
He also has the.
Oh, like a ring around him?
The like smoke ring.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like
it's like molten hair almost.
Which
scarf.
is like the traditional traditional way that some Japanese deities are depicted. Like when Enner had these weird
the
lightning.
That's not the only I think Japanese god with this weird thing around his from his shoulder. So I think that's reference, but honestly, who knows anymore?
I really didn't mind the more silly, cartoony drawing side of this because I'm a huge like One Piece or One Punch Man fan too, and there's a lot of moments where they do that, but it almost helps the bigger moments be better because of the contrast there. I don't know. I know you had said that it might. That might be Luffy's power is to kind of tune.
Because it happened twice in the same chapter.
Yeah.
In the same chapter, you had the weird Looney Tunes eyes.
Yeah.
Which is it's not just comedy. I think when you use the same effect for two different scenes, that's not just.
I think we're probably going to get an answer next chapter when we actually see Luffy and Kaido duke it out more. Yeah. But I think one of the biggest complaints against One Piece is like, oh, the art style. Like, why is the art style like that? It looks so weird compared to other manga. But I feel like this chapter kind of like justifies the art style, or at least this like Luffy's ultimate power sort of justifies it, because I can't imagine this sort of thing looking as it does in any other manga. Like it feels almost like a natural extension of the art style.
It's just his style. I mean,
absolutely. It's just at the end of the day, and that's something I feel like a lot of fans, especially people who just wait to get upset about things on the internet, is at the end of the day, One Piece is a comedy. It's a comedy, and I hate to say it, but I mean it's a comic made for a younger demographic, but at the same time, like what makes One Piece so good is they're able to do those moments, but they also have such great dramatic moments, great action moments, and so many things. But at the end of the day, it's a comic book that is supposed to make you feel good, and it continues to do that. And I think the faster people accept that, the more they'll be able to enjoy it. But this one just definitely had it in spades. Because, I mean, as silly as the eye-popping things out and the comedy that they were throwing into this is all coming off of all the huge, explosive plot developments that we got in this one chapter. 100% Luffy or Oda is, I feel like, rushing all of this because this is just so much in one chapter. It's almost more exciting because he's just like, I have bigger, better things to get to. And so he's almost like getting this out of the way so then we can get to the crazy.
It's also time. I mean, it's also time, as I was saying earlier. Yeah. It's amazing, all these mysteries, like they keep our interest alive week after week. But it was getting to be a bit too much. I mean, there is stuff going on from chapter 1 that we don't know about.
Yeah,
it's great. It's part of the reason why this manga is so successful. But at some point, you want to just make the story move forward without all these quote unquote distractions, right? Mm-hmm. So you want to resolve them. They don't want to make the mistake that sometimes authors make. Oh, that mystery is such a good way to catch people's attention, right? That I will just keep going and going and going and going, and then on the very last page, I will. I don't know if you guys ever read the Dark Tower series of novels by
Oh,
Stephen King.
I love that you bring that up. I'm actually like halfway through book 6 right now. I listen to the audiobooks.
Yeah. Oh, you listen to the audiobooks.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
so
they're awesome.
more or less, everything happens in the last 20 pages.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that on some of those.
You have all these things that make no sense, and then you have all these things that you could really not care about, and then everything that you actually want to know happens in the last 20, 30 pages.
Yeah.
Even in the final book of the series, where you have been waiting for so many years, and there is very little you understood about the world, because, I mean, Stephen King is a crazy man.
Yeah.
He's no Odin.
And then everything happens in like 20 pages, like a resolution for 20 years of storytelling or whatever. 7 books, just 20 pages. Yeah, that's it. Take it and go home.
Yeah. Well, say what you will about Stephen King, but I mean, his endings always, they're my least favorite part of his works.
Because it's so crammed in there. So, I mean, I'm happy that Oda is not doing that and just revealing everything in the last couple of chapters.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get out of the way now, and then we can focus on the present. Because as you said, it is too much past, right? And there's so much at stake at the present, actually. I don't think he wants us to lose focus on the world government, the secret king, and all this other stuff going on.
Yeah, which is like in the last 10 chapters, we've gotten maybe triple the amount of panels of the Elder Stars than we've ever gotten. And so just...
They're always in the same pose. Like, they always keep the same
These
pose.
guys don't leave. They don't eat. They're so mysterious. They know everything, but not as mysterious as Eam. And I just that's so much speculation there. I as soon as they revealed the king of all, or whatever they want to call him in this, it blew my brain out of the back there. But
and it feels like I have no idea what the like post Wano sort of like mini arc is going to be like, because it feels like after the Reverie arc, like that feels like the last mystery to me. It probably won't be, but like it feels like that's the whole, like, you know, Oda's revealing like, oh, you know, I know everyone's preoccupied with these mysteries, but here's the actual big mystery. Who's this guy who's, you know, this shadowy figure running the government? So I'm curious to see how the post Wano. But like, what will he do after Wano in that like mini arc? Because like every mini arc after, like, up to this point is sort of hinted at what's coming in the future, hinted at like new mysteries that we can uncover. Where do you go after this? Like, you know, he can't keep introducing new, like Francesco said, you know, there's too many mysteries already, you know, he can't keep introducing more.
Well,
I think that's when we will get the,
I was just going to say real quick, I mean, we kind of got that in this last chapter too, was especially with the official translation, which I read real quick because I too read the fan sub. I was very excited for it. The Elder Stars were saying like, an angry Kaido is better than what could have possibly have happened if this fruit had awakened. They caused the awakening, and they sacrificed one of their greatest agents. And it's just, again, adding more fuel to that. Like, they were terrified of what's going to happen next. Okay, well, let's get there. Like, it's exciting.
I think that the mini arc will shift towards Blackbeard. I think that's where we will get the news that Blackbeard did these and these and that. And because, I mean, we know that the next big arc is going to be about this major war.
Yeah.
So it could be the government against Shanks and Luffy. Could be Blackbeard against Shanks and Luffy. Could be everyone against everyone else. But Blackbeard is the final rival. I mean, we've got 2 enemies left now, Blackbeard and the government.
Yeah.
So in what order will they be? I don't know. Could be the government first, because then Blackbeard and Luffy would maybe race for the One Piece.
And also like sense. Sabo. So like we know Sabo's been kidnapped, or not kidnapped, but captured. And like it would make sense for Luffy to finish up Wano and then find out about that. And then rush
his
off
father and the Revolutionary Army too.
Yeah, that's
also,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
That used to be the biggest mystery of the series.
Oh,
Who is this guy who showed up and saved Luffy's life in lockdown?
Yeah.
And what? His father, and he's the most wanted man in the world. What the hell are you talking about?
Exactly. And we know nothing about him still. Same thing with Luffy's mother, which my favorite theory is it's Ivankov.
Oh, I've heard that theory. I've actually heard the theory that Crocodile was Luffy's mother, which is it's based off of Crocodile and Ivankov's like interactions in Impel Down, and like the theory is that like Crocodile used to be a woman and Ivankov, like helped him transition, and like it's a wild theory. But I don't think it's necessarily true, but I
think that's a very underappreciated arc.
Oh yeah,
it was really good, I think.
No.
It's one of those arcs that's gotten better with time, because I mean it just happened at a point where, all right, we got all of our Straw Hats together, let's go on an adventure, and then they're ripped away from Luffy and you're just lost, like, because the whole series had been one thing, and then that was the arc that started like, no, it's something else, and you're like, I have no idea where this is going. And it was just a period where you're like consistently grabbing for familiarity, and that all put you in a weird lost space. So then Marineford just hit everyone in the face when it happened.
It was yeah, sorry, I lost it. But
oh, you're
I was
fine.
gonna say something about the Impel Down arc. That's I really liked.
It introduced so much, and I don't think that it's fully done. I almost think that a lot of the people we met at Impel Down are going to sort of how I think every place that we've gone to is going to either come together to make an even bigger Straw Hat fleet or something like that. We've gathered so many allies along the way that I think it's inevitable that they'll all come together to help fight the final, big battle that we're all talking about and getting excited for.
And Impel Down was like, it was interesting because that's the first big arc of the series where a bunch of characters got like reintroduced in relevant plot points, right? Because of course there were always the cover stories that would catch us up with characters after they dropped out of the story and stuff. But like, who would have expected like Buggy, Crocodile, all these characters that, were
Bon
gone.
Clay.
Yeah, Bon Clay, who would have expected all these characters to come back in this way? And like up until that point, they hadn't really sort of like jump back into the plot in that sort of prominent role.
Absolutely,
very exciting. So I think we'll be getting another jailbreak of Impel Down, so we can see all those lovely people again. I mean, I feel like we could talk about all the implications of this chapter even for another couple hours, but it's going to be, I mean, this chapter has changed One Piece forever. Like, you can even go back and start rewatching the series and you have a new perception of Luffy now. He's not just the silly kid who ate a rubber fruit anymore. He is the vessel for a god, which, especially with this series, whenever like series throw that word out there, god, it's more of like somebody has reached a pinnacle of respect, so much so, like with the Nika god, I don't believe, when people think god, they think like an all-powerful, creator of everything sort of thing. But I think Nika and Joy Boy just attained such a level of respect for helping so many people that they look at him so favorably. He's a legend, essentially. And Luffy has already like set his own legend across a lot of the places in this world. And I think 100 years from now, well, let's say like 1,000 years from this story, If you asked somebody on Dressrosa, like, oh, what happened here 1,000 years ago? Oh, well, a legendary figure came and liberated us. And that's kind of the same thing that it sounds like Joy Boy did and Nika did. And
it could also be that everything we've seen in terms of devil fruits is what remains of the ancient kingdom. Like maybe the ancient kingdom was populated by gods and dragons and whatever. When they were about to be destroyed, I mean, that's my idea, they somehow sort of salvaged their DNA by creating these devil fruits. So they could, it's a big thing in manga, usually, the legacy, passing your spirit to the next generation and so and so and so, right? So maybe there was actually a kingdom of gods, because there's also the whole other thing about the Lunarians, who were supposed to be gods and god slayers and ancient races. So maybe there was a race of people like Nika that were so powerful that later they became known as gods. So
I feel like real quick, Ben, I always feel like this is all dancing around the Void Century. I think that everything that this fruit that Luffy ate, the reason that the Gorsi or the World Stars are so afraid of it is whatever it did in that Void Century. And I think that's an interesting theory on the devil fruits. Maybe every devil fruit was, a person or a power, and they wanted to... They knew that troubles were ahead, so they're like, let's help the next generation by creating or transferring ourselves into these fruits, maybe, or something like that.
And that will explain why once one fruit is eaten or destroyed, it regrows. I mean, that's something that these people did. That doesn't mean that it's just one fruit, but it's something that goes on and on.
Yeah.
Maybe there is that devil fruit tree that some fans have theorized about, where every devil fruit comes from, and that's hidden in Mary Joy.
Yeah,
oh, possibly. And they just ship out devil fruits worldwide. Oh, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah,
sorry.
Because there's some weird things about what Doflamingo was planning to do. That's the reason why he wanted to get the Ope Ope fruit, because he says that would let him infiltrate Mary Joy, and once there, he will become the most powerful person alive. He doesn't say why or how, but some people theorize, because with the Ope Ope fruit, he can sort of...
That's Law's fruit, right?
He's immortal. He's immortal, so he can... Well, with the operation that Law will do on him, he will become immortal, and then he could eat all these devil fruits without dying and get all the powers.
Oh, boy.
Because usually if you eat two, you die.
Yeah,
unless
Blackbeard is found.
Unless you're Blackbeard,
which is interesting, and we'll definitely learn more about Blackbeard there. But I think that another piece that sort of points to that theory being potentially true is the ancient weapons, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it would make sense because we've seen this sort of like ancient powers of like, Nika fruit, like they have sort of popped up again. So maybe Triton was a figure who recurs, and like who maybe Pluton and all that stuff. And we know so little about the ancient weapons, so this could entirely be wrong, but it makes sense. Like
I almost forgot about him.
Oh yeah,
we've gone
and
so
they're
far.
definitely gonna be like they're definitely gonna come back.
And we have to learn why Joy Boy apologized to the fishman.
Exactly,
Yeah.
Like there's so many pieces still left, even if like we know now about the Nika fruit, and we know now about Joy Boy. And also an interesting too about like, the Lunarians that you mentioned, like the one major antagonist who has not come back into the story is Enel. And Enel went to the moon, and we saw in the cover story that he found people on the moon. Yeah. And Lunarian
there is a theory. If you look at the pictures, that the murals in the mini adventures of Enel, it's very likely that the Lunarians, they come from the moon. And the world of One Piece has many, many moons, actually, because there's one panel when the scholars of Ohara are kind of showing a
Robin
modern world.
flashback.
And there is so many moons around it. So, and then the sun.
I think it was almost like Oda put an arrow on whatever planet we're supposed to be on, and it is actually revolving around a bigger planet or something like that. So a lot of people are like, this is just the first part of One Piece. We're going to get a One Piece Shippuden, and that's going to be a whole another 50 years of storytelling.
The space line, traveling planet to planet.
That sounds too much like sounds too much like Dragon Ball GT. If they're going to space, so we don't want to see that.
We don't want to see that.
No. I don't think Oda's going to do that.
No.
And also, maybe the scholars were wrong. Maybe they, it's like how way back when we thought that the sun revolved around the Earth. Maybe they were thinking.
Oh, that'd be great. Well, one last thing I wanted to bring up too, Francesco. You're halfway across the world, and you somehow read my mind or get it to go right back to where I want to. You bring up the immortality procedure that Law supposedly is able to do with his power. So was it Coruscant who had that fruit before, or did they?
No. Well, Coruscant had a different fruit.
Okay,
so the silence.
Yeah.
Okay, so we bring up the fact that whenever somebody dies, the fruit starts to regrow. So we have all the evidence that the immortality fruit has been used. So we could have an immortal walking around already, and I almost think that could be Eam. So the identity of Eam, possibly, this is just my theory, could be Rocks, or it could also be who is the other character we were just talking about? Maybe not Joy Boy. Rocks was my main theory, but it was somebody else could have been. Vegapunk.
I
can see Vegapunk, but I can't see Rocks, because from everything we've seen and heard about him, he wanted to topple. Oh well, no, actually, he wanted to become the king. Yes, you're right.
He wanted to be the leader of the world.
He doesn't sound like a guy who would stay in the shadows, right?
Yeah.
What very little we have seen and heard about him, but who knows? Maybe it was just deceiving everyone.
Well, also the silhouette, I think, doesn't match up with him.
Oh yeah, but that
Yeah, he could just be wearing.
He could have his hair up.
Something.
But I feel straw hat, guys. The giant straw hat.
We still don't know what. Like,
what
could that be connected? Like, could that be connected to like the Nika fruit as well? Like,
I think so.
Too many things.
Yeah,
too many.
Well, and it's just the Nika fruit. I mean, we keep on talking about how it could be a whatever is tied to Luffy's or whoever ate the fruit's imagination. So at any point he could just be like, I'm going to be bigger now. Like, can Luffy just do whatever he can think of now? Like, it's just, we need more clarification for this fruit, because especially with how vague they were with, it being the most ridiculous fruit in the whole world, just like, that could mean a lot. But yeah, it's getting to be about the time. Is there anything else about this chapter you guys wanted to bring up real quick?
No, I mean, I'm sure we could just keep on talking about this chapter, and like it's in many different facets. But like, I think we did a great job just discussing the big key moments.
We did a good job, but we had fun, which is the most important thing. I really like the panel of Luffy just manhandling Kaido.
He's reaching through.
And one thing I would like to do eventually is we'll we'll cut out our favorite panels and talk about them and stuff like that. But we already didn't have enough time today, really. But kind of going through, I think I hit everything. The last thing, Kondoro killed Orochi. I think Kondoro's little flame spirit just completely ran out of steam. And one comment I read that I loved was the parallel between Odin and Orochi's death.
Burning.
Odin did not burn to death, even though he sat in a boiling pot of oil for a whole hour, and Orochi just instantly goes up in flame like a little girl. not a little girl, but I was gonna
like a normal person.
Yeah, like a normal. Yeah, not like a Odin who is not normal. But I love a little parallel there. I really hope that is the end of Orochi, because that guy has died many times.
Well, they killed the Hydra in Greek myth. I know that Orochi's based off of like a Japanese myth sort of version of this, but in Greek myth, they killed the Hydra by burning the stumps of the heads. So,
okay.
Fire would make sense to kill him.
Oda, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll do a little bit of a sign-off because I think we're done. My name's Jason Hahn, and if you guys enjoyed this, please like the video, and we're going to be getting these podcasts on other formats too. But I hope you enjoyed Mega Manga Mondays. Please check out Screen Rant. We write a lot of articles there for comic books and video games and movies. I also do another YouTube channel if you like comedy and video games called Honzy and Friends. We recently played some Elden Ring and streaming and all that stuff, but check it out. Ben, you got anything you want to recommend or pitch, man?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything to plug, but I mean, I've just been completely consumed by One Piece over this past weekend. So
yeah,
I can't even think of anything else to recommend just because it's loomed so large,
Yeah, I've read all the other chapters that we're going to be talking about this week too, but One Piece was just over encompassing this weekend. It was very hard to, even when I was reading Jujutsu Kaisen or My Hero Academia, this is in the back of my brain. So just so many things happening, and it's a great time to be a One Piece fan. How about you, Francesco?
Not much really. I mean, I can suggest just the last manga I was reading, has a free reading suggestion. That's if you people are fans of Magic the Gathering and of old school Magic the Gathering, there is this very nice and fun manga called Destroy All Humans. They Can't Be Regenerated, which is pretty nice and fun, and especially if you're a Magic the Gathering fan and an old school fan like me, because that's set in 1999. It's the best time ever to be a Magic player. A little bit of nostalgia, just check it out. It's a good read.
Yeah, no, it's I can also second that recommendation.
Well, excellent. I've not heard of that one. I'll throw a link to it in the comments in the description and check them out. But yeah, I think that'll about do it for our Mega Manga Mondays discussion of One Piece 1044. And thanks for your help today, guys. And I look forward to talking about the next one with you.
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
If I probably won't top this one, but like it will answer some of our questions, hopefully,
and probably give us two more.
Oh yeah.
All right, you guys have a good one.
Bye.